We got a couple of tornado warnings here. One at Harrison County, and then the other down in Taylor County. And actually, I want to switch things over here, clear this, and get back. We'll get back and switch the radar mode back over to Louisville, and you can take a look at what is going on down south. All right, there you go. So there's our rotation, and let's see if we got any reports from. No, nothing from the Weather Service at this point as far as extending it, because we're still about 10 minutes from the expiration of it. It looks like, Jordan, it's not as distinct. Yeah, it's not as distinct as it was a little while ago. Looking at the reflectivity, we've got heavy rain, thunder, lightning, you name it, down there, and you kind of see how the leading edge of that, anywhere along that, even above and beyond the potential for any rotation, we're probably looking at some strong winds, 55, 60 miles per hour.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. And even if, Liberty, even if you don't see a tornado warning, you're probably definitely going to see some strong winds, some lightning. So definitely want to be away from, all windows and try to, be in, I know it's 1:50 in the morning at this time. Most everybody's not outside, but you don't want to go outside and, try to see the lightning or try to see what's going on. Just because when it's dark, you can't really, get a good handle on that. We're actually seeing some pretty intense thunderstorms here in the Lexington metro area as well. Tons of lightning here down parts of Lexington and down towards 75 there, Jacobson Park down toward the southern end of the county. And we're still riding along with this tornado warning, which does include the city of Cynthiana. And again, as TG mentioned earlier, they have went ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of that. So we will see exactly what they did with this tornado warning, but at least fair confidence that the damaging wind aspect will stay to the east of that, providing that downstream severe thunderstorm warning.
And again, looking at the velocity data, the issue here, because you're getting farther away from Louisville's radar, that's why the signature isn't as prominent as when we switch it over to Wilmington. So that's what you're seeing right there. And again, just looking at this one compared to what's been going on down in Taylor County, it's not as tight. It's obviously very broad, but they're playing it safe, just given the fact that the wind fields are so strong. Yeah. We've had those gusty winds. So any of these that move through do have the capability, again, of spinning up a little isolated tornado. Again, all along, our biggest concern has been for the potential for just some straight line wind damage. And as Jordan mentioned, here in the Lexington area, but especially down toward Harrodsburg, you folks in Nicholasville, Danville, you're really kind of catching the brunt of it right now. And then down here in southern Kentucky, Liberty, as we mentioned, Casey County, down toward Columbia, over toward Houstonville and western Lincoln County. So I think really if we see any additional spin-ups, George's probably going to be, again, down here across the south central part of Kentucky. So even though you got just some general rain, Lincoln County, Waynesburg, Stanford, down 27, Science Hill, Somerset, just kind of a heads up that this has to move through your area. We mentioned earlier in the newscast, late Friday, now that we're in a new day and a new month, early April now, we mentioned that as this stuff moved eastward, that the greatest concern was going to be straight line wind damage with the possibility of an isolated tornado spinning up. And if you remember when we were showing you the risk area, it was enhanced through this area, and then the farther east you go into eastern Kentucky, it ramped down to level 2 and then level 1 in far eastern Kentucky. So hopefully, as this continues to work eastward here, we'll see a subsequent reduction in the intensity of this. But nevertheless, we got some very, very heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and I think that cell and probably the rotation is running out of Taylor County and eventually going to be sneaking into Casey County. Jordan?
Yeah, and we have an update from the National Weather Service. They said they are going to let that tornado warning in Taylor County expire at the top of the hour because they're seeing that circulation that has decreased quite a bit. So 6 more minutes at the top of the hour, and then the one in Harrison County is still running at the moment. Again, that goes until 2:15, but unless, you know, it just kind of pulses up here within the next few minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if they let that one go as well.
Yeah, and we talk about it a lot of times this time of the year, really any time of the year it seems anymore. Within these clusters, you get some quick rotation and the warning comes out, and many times these spinners are up and down. You know, by the time, you know, folks get the warning, your no weather radio goes off, you turn on the television, and, you know, the circulation isn't as intense or look as good as, you know, as it did a few minutes ago. So,
and looks like the National Weather Service is not even going to last all the way to 2 a.m. They have expired that tornado warning there in Marion and Taylor County as of now.
Yeah,
so.
even though it still shows up on the radar, or as you get within 10 minutes of the expiration, and they will allow it to expire on its own. So, just showing you the circulation, and again, you take it back a few frames here, and you see how tight it was, and there's a difference from what, a half hour ago, 25 minutes ago, and then you see how it's really just kind of broadened out, and really it's gone.
Yeah.
Now, one to watch is potentially this one right here. Over parts of Greene County, north of Greensburg. This little area right here, that could potentially spin something up. So that's what we're going to be dealing with, unfortunately, the rest of the overnight, the early morning here, is the fact that we're going to continue to see the potential of these just spinning up very, very quickly and then going away. So, but really front and center, Jordan, more than anything right now, is just heavy rain and the potential for some gusty and maybe even damaging winds. But
it is.
Ironically, here in Lexington, we kind of have been caught in the perfect spot because it's been all north. All the warnings over the last hour and a half have been back toward Louisville, Shelby County, up toward Henry County, Owen County, and then they've been to our southwest. And here in Lexington, we've managed to just kind of be, again, stuck in the middle and just see some heavy rain, some lightning, and that's what we've got right now here at the studio.
Yeah, and as like I said, you said the studio, you can hear the rain on top of our studio here as well. So if you by chance are out caught driving in one of these storms, you know, it might be a good idea to kind of pull over and let that pass, because with all the moisture that is available with these storms, we're seeing some very intense rainfall, again, that intense lightning as well. So maybe some ponding on area roadways, just, you know, keep that in mind as you're traveling, because it does not take a lot of rain or you to even be going very fast to get caught off guard. Take that from personal experience.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. And you see here the cell that's Warren cell over Harrison County that, again, is out until 2:15. It is already running out of the warning polygon into Robertson County and just kind of clipping the northern part of Nicholas County. So I highly suspect they will probably drop that if they don't extend it farther to the northeast. In fact, with the way that it's going, skipping over into Robertson County and then eventually Mason County, that is under the National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio, up in southern Ohio. Those counties, Robertson and Mason County, that's their responsibility. Of course, Harrison County falls under Louisville, so we'll see if Wilmington decides to pick it up. As we mentioned, wasn't all that impressive. And we've got the heavy rain that continues. No warnings here in Lexington. Yeah, you may be hearing the wind whip around. You're hearing some thunder and lightning. But right now, it's just a general thunderstorm with some gusty, potentially strong winds, and just really torrential rain running from Harrodsburg over to Nicholasville and then farther south. If anything, this kind of leading edge right here into central Boyle County and then curving down into northern Casey County. That leading edge, again, may produce some wind gusts upwards of maybe 60, even 65 miles per hour, despite the fact that we don't have a warning. But a lot of times, again, as this thing is really congealed into a line, a squall line, as it moves eastward. But Jordan, zooming in here, ironically, this is going to be done here in just a few minutes. So the polygon here, the tornado warning polygon, was for this part of the circulation, which is gone. But now we're seeing a secondary circulation, this time not on the north side of Campbellsville. Even though there's not a warning out here, this is the example of what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. See, the polygon's gone, so the tornado warning has been allowed to expire, but it's this area right here, yeah, where the winds are going in opposite directions. You see the green, west side of Campbellsville, the red, you right down US 68. You get those, even though it's fairly broad, you get those side by side, and that gives us an indication that there is some rotation. Jordan, they're just kind of on the back edge of what's kind of at the end of the line here, and that's probably one of the reasons why it's showing a little bit of circulation. Now, they may end up issuing a warning for that, and by the time they do, the circulation may be gone. So that's going to be basically the setup, I think, at least till this thing gets past the I-75 corridor. And once that happens and it gets farther into eastern Kentucky, we should see things be a little bit more stable. All along, we had said through Friday that kind of the demarcation line was going to be up and down I-75. Anywhere west of it, that's where we had the best chance of seeing an isolated tornado spin up. And we had that warning for Taylor, Marion, and it's still ongoing, but that cell is long gone up into Maysville and into Mason County. I don't know, Jordan, if there's anything in the chat at all relative to letting that one go by the wayside.
There is no updates on it, but like you said, it is completely out of the polygon. Just seeing some light rain with that, but still the National Weather Service has no updates on that. Harrison County storm, it technically runs for another roughly 14 minutes here to 2:15, but as soon as we get word from the National Weather Service that they're going to allow this thing to, kind of expire, then of course we will let you know that as well. You can see that this line is being well-defined. It may not be severe everywhere, but it is a well-defined line now that stretches, in between the Interstate 65 and 75 corridor. A lot of at least heavy rain, some frequent lightning, and some gusty winds. And right there, they let the Harrison County tornado expire.
Well, and one thing to point out, and we'll stay with this here for a second. Now that the tornado warnings have expired, we'll pop back and take it back to the regular stuff. But I have to say, the model data actually did a really good job, and Jordan can attest to this as we've kind of crunched the data through the course of the afternoon. It was showing about this time, our in-house data was showing what we've got from Lexington to the southwest, and then it was developing this secondary line that's just kind of right on the nose of that boundary back to the west of Louisville. So everything is actually played out as we expected it to, and as forecasted, but we're not out of the woods completely. Of course, we've got to get this thing through central Kentucky and out to the east, but I think as we go deeper into the morning and we get away from the better dynamics that we had out into western Kentucky, where we had a number of tornado warnings out toward Owensboro, back toward Morganfield, that's in between Owensboro and Paducah earlier. What we've had is essentially what we expected, but some very heavy rain downtown Lexington, right out Nicholasville Road, really all of Jessamine County, Nicholasville, and then stretching down Harrington Lake, there Danville, Perryville, and then into the northern part of Casey County. So we're really going to have to watch that little area that's kind of cut off from the end of the line. Wouldn't be surprised if we don't eventually see something out of that. So again, if you're hearing a lot of heavy rain, thunder, lightning, the wind whipping around, right now, don't have any tornado warnings. We did have a couple from these isolated spin-ups, and we may continue to see that here for the next couple of hours. That tornado watch, which was extended to include Lexington, That goes until 3 o'clock, so for about another hour. Jordan's got some additional info.
Yeah,
here.
just right before we send you back to regular programming, the Weather Prediction Center has highlighted most of central Kentucky for an increased chance for some flash flooding issues heading into the next couple of hours. So again, not tornadic, but still something that could, disrupt your plans if you are traveling here into the overnight. So be prepared for some of those, again, flash flooding issues. Weather Prediction Center is highlighting our area. TG is going to is pulling up velocity here on that southern storm just south of Campbellsville, because it still is showing a little bit of signs of rotation. Again, no warning on that storm as of yet, but that's something, of course, that we will continue to watch as it gets closer here to our area. But again, the rain on top of our station is very heavy, so that, along with some gusty winds and lightning, is our main concern for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, no severe thunderstorm warning here in the metro area, but if you're in here in Lexington, in the metro, down toward Nicholasville, and you're hearing the heavy rain and the thunder and lightning and waking up and wondering what's happening, right now we're in good shape. We don't have any warnings as far as tornado warnings across the area. We just had those couple that spin up, but as we progress through the remainder of the morning and this stuff moves out into eastern Kentucky, hopefully we will see it continue to diminish in its intensity. We're still going to have heavy rain, thunder and lightning, and some gusty winds, but the trend is for at least a bit of weakening, hopefully, that will keep us away from any severe thunderstorm and especially any tornado warnings as it runs farther out into eastern Kentucky. So with that and the fact we don't have any tornado warnings, we are going to continue to, of course, monitor for the potential for any circulation or any of these isolated spin-ups as we go through the remainder of the morning. But we'll monitor that. We'll send you back to regular programming. Meteorologist Jordan Smith and yours truly will be here in the ABC 36 Storm Team Weather Center, continuing to monitor the situation until the watch expires here, hopefully at the top of the hour. They've been cutting some of the counties off out west, so once we get this band through the metro area and across southern Kentucky, hopefully we'll be out of the woods. I don't think they have any plans of extending it out into eastern Kentucky as overall, everything seems to be weakening. So for meteorologist Jordan Smith, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck. We'll send you back to regular programming. And of course, we will cut back in if the situation warrants. We're in the western part of Whitley County. That's the tornado signature. I can already tell you, folks, in Wayne County, you're clear, even though a small little part of Wayne County was initially in the tornado warning, but this is moving very, very rapidly, and that's one of the reasons why the Weather Service in Jackson has stretched this thing all the way out to include western Knox County, central and northern parts of Whitley County, and Corbin in it. Again, right there, of course, Laurel, Knox, and Whitley County, with Corbin being right there in the Tri-County area. But this thing said, per the warning, moving east at about 80 miles per hour, that in and of itself would do some wind damage. In addition to the potential of a tornado, just the leading edge of this cluster or this particular cell could produce some wind damage just with its eastward movement. So if you're anywhere in that area, especially Williamsburg, up US 25W, up Interstate 75, from Corbin to Williamsburg, this is going to pass through the northern part of Whitley County and then eventually work over into western parts of Knox County. Barberville proper, not in it, but within the next half hour or less. Again, this thing's moving so quickly that it is going to move through that area of southern Kentucky in very, very short order. But beyond Whitley City and McCreary County, just some of those smaller communities off to the north of Williamsburg in Whitley County there, Youngs Creek at about 325 and Wofford at about 328. So there's your track. And again, the movement is very, very fast. It's already just along the US 27 corridor north of Whitley City in McCreary County. Farther north, it's been showing some signs of rotation up farther north into parts of Pulaski County and coming in to Laurel County, although there's not even a severe thunderstorm warning. We had talked all along through Friday that the farther east these things progress, the less chance we would see of any spin-ups of a tornado or even severe thunderstorm warning. So we're right along the I-75 corridor. All along, this was the favored area, 75 westward. And of course, within the last hour or two, we had that initial tornado warning in Taylor County, parts of Marion, and then one up in Harrison County. But this is our third one of the evening. And again, even though this is fairly high up in the cell, it is showing some decent rotation just north of Whitley City here along US 127 in the north central part of McCreary County. So this thing, again, is going to rapidly move eastward over into Whitley County and eventually over into the western part of Knox County. Also, the tornado watch was extended eastward. We'll show you that in a second, but your safety tips here, just a reminder, of course, as we enter into our severe weather season, with it now being officially April 1st, we've been in it. It's typically mid to late March through April, May, and into early June. So this gives you your best place, of course, a basement. If you don't have a basement, I talk about an interior room. You got a closet, a hall, a stairwell, a bathroom, but you want to be away from the exterior windows and walls, center part of your house, even if it's a fairly weak tornado, meaning a EF0, EF1. That's generally what we see when we have these spin-ups within a broken line of thunderstorms as they move through our area. Nothing like what they had out to our northwest and southwest earlier today with those long track tornadoes. Even with some of the damage that we saw with that, many times you will get the center part of the house will still be standing. But here is the tornado watch that goes until 7 a.m. It does include Mount Vernon, over toward
Jackson.
Manchester, that's what I'm saying, in Clay County, also Jackson County, London, Corbin, Williamsburg, and I think Monticello will be probably dropped out of this. And the reason it goes until 7 o'clock is because it extends down into east central Tennessee, and there's some additional cells that have a better chance of possibly producing tornadoes down into central Tennessee, and it'll probably be more of 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning before that area is clear. This will blow through southern Kentucky well before that. In fact, you see the heavy rain, it's already past Mount Vernon there, heading toward McKee, again there in Jackson County, eventually over toward Clay County. But you see the trajectory, 345, it's 321, Knox, Laurel, Whitley, and McCreary County. Wayne County technically out of it because basically here's your track. So you can actually probably slide that a little farther west for the leading edge of that, Jordan. It's just to the east of the US 27 corridor. So any of those communities, Williamsburg, obviously, Corbin, and over toward Barberville, just better to go to your safe place, even though the potential tornado here is pretty high up, at least the circulation, the velocity signature that we were showing you a couple of minutes ago. It's several thousand feet up because the radar site is all the way over in Jackson. And there's your signature actually north of Whitley City, and it will quickly, very quickly move into western Whitley County. It's moving at a pretty good clip. Now, again, the warning said it was moving east at about 80. It's probably a little bit less than that, but it is definitely moving along at a pretty good pace here. So Williamsburg to Corbin, you're within the tornado warning polygon, so you want to be in your safe place. London, you're not under a warning. It looks like some broad rotation aloft there. So the point is, any of this that's moving across southern Kentucky right now is going to have the potential of producing some very gusty winds, 50 to 55 plus So keep that in mind. Windows rattling, got a lot of heavy rain, thunder, and lightning as well. And this will continue to track off to the east fairly rapidly. And this goes until 3:45, but this may easily outrun the warning before it is set to expire. So, Jordan, got anything to add on this?
Just looking at a different velocity here that's not showing up on screen. The rotation just north of Stearns is tightening up quite a bit actually at the moment. So that is something that we're going to have to watch for. Again, just north there of Whitley City, specifically the community of Stearns, Kentucky, there in Whitley County. Again, rotation just starting to tighten up a little bit. It's starting to get a little bit closer to that Jackson radar site. Again, where the focus of the area is right here within this red polygon. So we're going to have to continue to watch this to see, and even our in-house velocity here as well is starting to pull that up as well. Maybe if we can switch over to velocity and get just a little bit better handle. Again, the rotation looks a little bit better than, say, when we first come on.
Yeah, so let's see. Sorry, I got to get my reading glasses here so we can see what's going on. All right, so that is out of Jackson. Let's see. That's out of Louisville. So there's your rotation behind Jordan. Mm-hmm. Is that that's
right there.
We've got them up on both Max 1 and Max 2. So if you want to pop that up, Caleb, with Jordan up, and he can point it out. He can point it out right there. So I will put a circle around it. It's right here in this area. And you notice, Jordan, it's already off to the northeast of Whitley City. So it's going to skip into north of Williamsburg fairly quickly.
Moving, crossing over Highway 27 there that runs just north of Whitley City. And again, Stearns, the community of Stearns is right in between that area as well. And that is where we are looking at as well. Again, nothing confirmed from this. This is all radar indicated tornado. But again, just a little bit of rotation. And since we are still kind of, a good distance away from that radar site there in Jackson, the National Weather Service in Jackson went ahead and put out a warning for this. And again, Whitley City, if you're watching in Whitley City, you're clear from that warning, again, in Whitley City as this is moving off just to the northeast here. So let's track out some communities there. 328 will be near Duck Run, 332 near Youngs Creek, 338 in Woodford, 343 in Perkins, and then 350 there in Swan Lake. So they're getting a little bit more personal, going a little bit closer down, closer to where you live. So if I just called any of those locations, if you're watching, if you're listening, and I just listed one of those locations, again, you need to be in your storm shelter at this time. The most interior part of your house, you want to put as many windows in between you and the outside as we possibly can. You don't want to be on a second floor. You want to be on the first floor. If you have a basement, that's great. But I know a lot of people do not. So if you don't, again, just get in the most interior part of your house and put as many walls in between you and the outside as we can.
All right, let's jump back over to Max 2 if we can, Caleb, or Max 1, excuse me, and we'll give you the warning here and also show you just where it is raining and storming. Again, we've got a lot of heavy rain down here across southern Kentucky. London, you got a heavier shower right now. Don't see a whole lot of lightning out of this, and we expected this to weaken out a bit as it moved eastward here, but there's the cell in question right there along the McCreary-Whitley County line, and this thing, again, is moving very rapidly. The Weather Service still has the forward movement eastward, probably 60, 70 miles an hour. So this thing's moving very, very quickly, and just its forward movement is enough to, in and of itself, potentially do some wind damage. So anyone down here in this area of northern Whitley County, basically from Williamsburg running up I-75, northern Whitley County, Corbin included in that. Barberville, it is just to your west, so it's going to be just a small part of Laurel County, northern part of Whitley County, western part of Knox County. This cell, you can see it has now crossed out of McCreary County. Whitley City seeing some heavy rain, but it's this part of the cell right here coming up on US 25W that just runs adjacent, kind of zigzags across 75 as you run up toward Corbin here. London, you're not in this. Again, the main circulation's right here. Yeah, we're looking at it from two different radars. This is Jackson's radar. That's why the color switched, because obviously I mentioned before with the velocity data, anything in the lighter color, which is actually blue here, that's going away from the radar site. Anything in green is going towards. So this is Jackson's radar, which is off to the northeast, but it's just this part of it. It's right along the McCreary-Whitley County line, and you see between the two, it pretty much matches up there. So it's roughly just north of the line between Whitley City and Williamsburg. So as it continues on that eastward track, if it stays due east, then it will remain south of Corbin and head toward Barberville. And remember, again, radar's at the ground, the beam, farther it gets away, it's aloft. So that circulation we're seeing isn't necessarily at the ground level, but it could potentially be. So better safe than sorry, obviously, with it being a nighttime event, early morning hours here as we hit 3:30. So this thing's moving along quick enough to where it's about right on top of you in Williamsburg, and within the next 5 to 10 minutes, at least the southern part of it could catch Saxton there down in the southern part of Whitley County, and then eventually over toward Corbin here within the next, say, 10 minutes or so. Gray, which is over into Knott County, that's within the next 15 minutes. So anywhere down here, parts of Whitley County, southern Laurel County, and western Knox County, you're under that tornado warning until 3:45. Farther north, this is the only game in town. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings going. We just have the tornado warning for that circulation that is indicated on radar, and we'll see if the Weather Service lets that ride out, because again, in these types of setups, usually they're not on the ground very long, especially with this being far enough east. We expected as it got into southern and eastern Kentucky, deeper into the early morning hours, like where we are currently, that we would see these weaken. But if we do see one of these spin-ups, they generally do not last very long. They affect a very small, isolated area. So the way that the track of this is, it looks like it'll probably be just to the north of Williamsburg, basically between Corbin and Williamsburg there across the northern part of Whitley County and eventually into Knox County. Hopefully that circulation won't be as strong, as distinct as it has been, and this will be allowed to expire early. Now farther north, you're going to see some gusty winds. You've got just some solid rainfall from Hazard over toward Hyden and Leslie County, also Manchester there in Clay County, and then the leading edge of this coming up on Boonville and Owsley County and stretching up toward West Liberty. Any of that's going to produce some very gusty winds. You got a lot of heavy rain in London proper in Laurel County. Don't really see much in the way of lightning out of this. So that's kind of an indication that maybe we're seeing some weakening here. But the cell is really into western parts of Whitley County now. So folks in McCreary County, you're in much better shape. And I mentioned the tornado watch, how it went from Wayne County up through Pulaski County and then all the way up to Mount Vernon there in Rockcastle County and then over to McKee and Jackson County. Those areas basically are clear. Once this leading edge here, which is now east of London along the Hal Rogers Parkway, and then the cell that's possibly producing the tornado here just northwest of Williamsburg. Once that moves through your area, we're just looking at some general rain, and you don't have to worry about the severe threat at all. Those areas that still have to be concerned with it. Barberville in Knox County, Pineville down toward Middlesboro and Bell County, and up toward Manchester. And where you see, again, the reds and the greens, obviously it is stretched out a lot more, so it's not as tight as it was, say, even 5 minutes ago. So that's an indication. It's really kind of a broad circulation here as it works into western Whitley County. Literally right over US 25W there northwest of Williamsburg. If you're in Whitley County, you probably have received an alert that there's a tornado warning until 3:45. But Williamsburg proper, you're not in the polygon. It's north of town, basically between Corbin and Williamsburg, right along I-75. That's where the rotation is going to cross Whitley County and eventually sneaking over here into western sections of Knox County. Barberville, not in the polygon, but as I've mentioned a couple of times here, the beam is shooting pretty high up in the cell, so whether it's on the ground or not, it's possible. That's why they put the tornado warning out, but that circulation is definitely aloft, but it doesn't take much sometimes for it to at least drop down even temporarily. So better safe than sorry, especially with an overnight event, even though these generally don't last very long and they affect very concentrated areas. If you happen to be in one of those, then you obviously want to be in your safe spot. So this is going to roll through Corbin. It's affecting London right now as far as the heavy rain and some very, very gusty winds. But Barberville, just some lighter rain, but this stuff will come blowing through your area here within the next probably 10 to 15 minutes. So we got about another 10 minutes left on the warning here, and so far the Weather Service is just allowing it to continue. Haven't gotten any updates or anything. I think the last update was at 3:23. That was about 10, 12 minutes ago. So they're allowing it to continue. So that's the latest. That's the latest that we have. As far as the watch goes, again, you see the counties until 7 o'clock. A lot of these are going to be trimmed down, and this is the reason that the watch goes until 7 a.m. There's some activity back areas west of Knoxville that have a better chance of producing some tornadoes. We're just on the northern fringe of it here across southern Kentucky. So that's one of the reasons why the watch goes all the way until 7 a.m. But it'll long be canceled before then. Jordan?
Yeah, no, just no updates from the National Weather Service, and still watching that rotation. Again, it's very strung out, very broad there to the northeast of Whitley City, getting ready to cross over into Williamsburg. You can see that there on your screen. So still need to be in our safe place. Again, this tornado warning has another 10 minutes. And as soon as we get any word from the National Weather Service, whether they're going to let this expire or continue it, of course, we'll be sure and pass that info along to you as well.
So I mentioned that there really wasn't much in the way of lightning out of it. Now that we've zoomed in, we're picking up a lot more. I figured that there had to be a little bit in it, but for whatever reason, it wasn't as easy to see on the reflectivity. And as Jordan was mentioning, it's very, very strung out. It needs to be much, much tighter. You see a little bit of distance between the brighter pink there and the green on either side of US 25W. You need those side by side, a little tighter couplet for there to be a better indication that we've got maybe some rotation. Now, you see that the Weather Service literally just updated it. So all clear in Wayne County, all clear in McCreary County, all clear in the western part of Whitley County. It's just this small area here. Williamsburg, you're not in it, but it does include Corbin, which is right there where Laurel County, Whitley County, and Knox County come together. Barberville, you're not in it as well. So it's along US 25E coming east of Corbin and then running down I-75 and down US 25W south of Corbin. I guess there's enough rotation to where they're hanging on to this thing. So if you're in that area of northern Whitley County and western parts of Knox County, again, we got about 8 minutes to go here, but if you just happen to be waking up You can hear the wind whistling, hear some thunder, and see some lightning flashing. You're under a tornado warning there in northern Whitley County and the western part of Knox County, again, for about another 8 minutes. So go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, interior room, lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. And we're entering into our severe weather season. This is the time, even though this is a small event tonight, it's an overnight event. You need to have a safety plan in place. If you live in a mobile home, you need to have a place, sturdier structure that you determine ahead of time that that's where you're going to go in the event of severe weather. Because typically when we get these tornado warnings coming out, if you're in a mobile home, you don't have enough time to seek a sturdier structure or safer shelter before you're impacted. So you see just some very, very heavy rain here and thunderstorms from West Liberty. Paintsville not in it yet. Eventually it'll be, but from Hazard running up Kentucky 15 to Jackson, and really all of Leslie County, Clay County, Laurel County, just heavy downpours, some very, very gusty winds. The only warning that we have is the tornado warning for that small part of northern Whitley County and into the western part of Knox County as well. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just checking my watch to see there's a flood advisory for Laurel and Pulaski County, and that goes until 6:45 a.m. So that's the other aspect of this, because this stuff's hanging in, and Jordan had mentioned it earlier, we got some localized flooding potential as well. So we could have some high water issues, some of the low-lying areas, obviously ponding of water on the roadway. That's going to be a major issue running up and down I-75 from the time you get out of Rockcastle County until you get into Laurel County, and then eventually down into Whitley County, over into Knox County, and just a solid shield of rain running along the Hal Rogers Parkway, London to Manchester to Hyden, over to Hazard, and then stretching farther north through Owsley County up into Jackson, right around the radar site there. So really, once we get clear of this tornado warning here in about the next 5 minutes, we may end up in pretty good shape as far as the lack of severe weather. Yeah, we still have a few counties that are going to be under that tornado watch until they decide to clear those. But at this point, the rotation that we're seeing anywhere down here in southern Kentucky is very, very broad. So at this point, we're about 5 minutes away from this thing being done. And I know they cut a few of the counties out of it, but they said, I guess the last check here, the possible rotation was near Bertha Station, about 7 miles northwest of Barberville. Still saying there are things moving east at 80 miles an hour. I don't know that it's necessarily moving that quickly, but north of Williamsburg, northern Whitley County, boy, it's really, really coming down. Obviously, they're Keedy and southern Laurel County and Corbin, those areas, just torrential rain, probably just almost blinding rain if somebody happens to be out driving. So we're going to switch back over to the velocity data, because it looks like that may be tightening up a bit. That's a Jackson radar. I'm going to switch it over to Louisville here, and that's what you were showing me, weren't you? Yeah, so it may be cycling up a little bit, and I understand why the Weather Service is hanging with this for another few minutes here, because it actually looked better on Jackson's velocity. So you see the two distinct markings here as far as the coloring. You've got this little bit of blue here against the green, so it's that area where this area right here. I'll circle the whole thing where you got the possible rotation. So it's just off to the west, just northwest, about 7 miles, as the Weather Service said. That's where the possible rotation is. So it's coming out of northern Whitley County and going to move into northwestern sections of Knox County here. Corbin, I think you're close, but you should be in pretty good shape here. So we haven't gotten a cancellation yet. This thing's going to expire here in about 5 minutes unless they decide to extend it. And at this point, we haven't gotten any word from the Weather Service, any reports from them or updates other than when they trimmed part of the polygon down here over the last few minutes.
Something sub-severe storm, I guess. I want to mention this is a lot of heavy rain that is moving over this part of the state. We know this is an area that is a little bit prone for some flash flooding issues. It kind of runs off the mountains. So this is heavy rain kind of just training over these same areas here. So yes, we're tracking that tornado warning. Yes, we're tracking the actual severe element, but I just want to point out all this heavy rain and this increase in lightning that you are also seeing. Just letting us know that those rainfall rates are pretty intense as well. So not only are we tracking that bit of rotation, which looks like it's trying to pulse back up. We'll get to that in just a second. But also, again, if you live near a flood-prone area, just, it's the middle of the night. I understand that. We want to keep an eye outside, keep an eye on the water levels, just because even though the severe weather threat has ended back here towards Monticello and Somerset, but you're still dealing with some heavy rain. So that's something that we need to keep our eyes on. And we're going to switch back over to velocity, Matt, if you could do that, because the rotation is starting to tighten up just a little bit. So if you can switch back to Max 1, thank you very much.
Yeah, so just looking at what the Weather Service had out as far as the location of the rotation, it was actually more just off to the northwest of Barberville here, but really, it could cycle up a little bit here. It looks like it's just east of the I-75 corridor here, south of Corbin, about to cross the county line out of Whitley County and into Knox County here, and we're literally about 15 or 20 seconds from this thing going away because the expiration is at 3:45. Haven't gotten an indication whether they're going to extend it off to the east or not. But again, at this point, again, the beam is shooting way up. It's kind of cycled back and forth. It looked fairly promising, and then it seemed to weaken out. And then Jordan just pointed out that it looked like it was pulsing back up, but right on cue, you notice that the tornado warning has been allowed to expire as of 3:45. So with that, we don't have any warnings, although, Jordan, if you want to quickly pop back the reflectivity and just kind of broaden things out here so we can give you the bird's eye view before we send it back to programming here. The biggest issue I think we're going to have for the rest of the morning is the heavy, heavy rain. I mean, much of eastern and southern Kentucky, and again, boom, right on cue. Now they've decided to extend the tornado warning into parts of Knox County here.
And Clay County.
And Clay County as well. So,
very southern part of Clay County is as well.
Yeah, so the new tornado warning here, that goes for parts of Clay County, Knox County, and Laurel County, and it is until 4:15, so for about a half hour here.
While you're doing that, I want to step on the wall here and kind of show folks where exactly this rotation is. This is right over US 25 East, right there where that rotation is starting to tighten up a little bit. That's where we have been tracking it over the last few minutes. Is exactly where I pointed out just 5 or so minutes ago, saying that rotation was starting to pulse back up a little bit. So it doesn't come as much of a surprise of here that we're getting that extension of that tornado warning. Again, nothing is being confirmed. I want to stress that we have no confirmation. This is all radar indicated, but you can still, right here where TG just put that circle, that is where we're starting to see that area of rotation. So I know it's in the middle of the night, but if you can go, if you have kiddos and you live in parts here heading into Barberville, wake them up, take them to your storm shelter. If you have a basement, that is great. But if you don't, you just want to be in the most interior part of your house. You want to put as many walls in between you and the outside as you possibly can. And here, if we track this in here, could do a little bit more street by street. It's going to be get into Gray there at 347, get into Gertier there at 356. They're into Hammond, Asher Forks, and then Spring Creek there by 4:14. So this warning runs, what time does this warning expire, TG?
4:15.
4:15, so
roughly 25 minutes here.
Roughly 25, 30 minutes, and we will continue, of course, to watch this. Again, those are some of the smaller areas that we were watching. This is the main area of circulation is going just to the north of Barberville. You can see right here where I'm making a fist. That darker blue, just that you can see the lightning. Once we zoomed in here, the lightning is starting to tick up as well. This is roughly 7 miles to the northwest. There, Barberville, this is moving off to the northeast. So this will likely go, right over, again, US 25 that runs in between Corbin and Barberville. So that is where we are tracking that area of circulation right now. Do you have any updates from the National Weather Service, TG?
No, just confirmation that they've expired. Obviously, the other one, they pushed the tornado warning farther to the east, and they're still seeing that bit of rotation that we were just you were just pointing out on the radar, and we're just going to continue to watch that. So if you're in Barberville proper, you are not in the tornado warning polygon. This thing is racing off really to the east northeast. So there along US 25E, Girdler there, and parts of northern Whitley County, or excuse me, northern Knox County, Whitley County, you're in the clear, and then eventually over into the southern part of Clay County. Really, it's going to be Asher's Fork, Manchester, you're not in it. A small part of Laurel County, which honestly, barely any of it would potentially impact Laurel County at all. It's essentially to the southeast of Corbin. You see North Corbin there on the map, so not concerned about Corbin at this point. You do have some heavy rain, and you're going to continue to see that here for a little while. In fact, I'll put the reflectivity back on. It is lightening up in London finally, but I'll leave the tornado warning polygon on there, but show you what bigger, more widespread issue is going to be as we progress through the next few hours this morning. Farther north, it is just heavy amounts of rain. I mean, much of eastern Kentucky dealing with moderate to heavy rain. That's going to cause some minor flooding issues. Got some flood advisories out. Within this, you're going to see some very gusty winds. And remember, later on this morning, after all this is gone and the sun comes out, after this has moved out of eastern Kentucky, we've got to deal with the gradient winds, where we've got the wind advisory in central and southern Kentucky, and we've got the high wind warning for much of the area that you see right now. But down toward Oneida, right through Manchester, even though you're not in the tornado warning, you see Oneida, eastern part of Clay County here. The leading edge of this may produce 55, 60 mile per hour winds, even though we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning out for it. But it's this part of the cell. That's the beauty of Doppler radar. If we just had the regular reflectivity, you wouldn't be able to pick out where there was any possible rotation. But with that, and sticking on the velocity data here, with this scan, we don't see it popping like it was a little while ago. So it may be a case of, yet again, as Jordan had mentioned, and I'll actually take it back a couple of minutes here, you can see how it was a lot tighter, and this was back, this is about 20 minutes ago, or 10 minutes ago. This was at 3:40. So you see, excuse me, the circulation right here, and that's when it really tightened up. And I think that's one of the reasons that they let it expire coming out of Whitley County and then decided to extend it. Now we'll take you to where we are now, and you see it's completely gone away. So we've gone from there to there. So it's obviously weakened out, and unless it cycles again, I think we'll be in much better shape down across the northern part of Knox County.
Maybe some straight line winds, though. That
Yeah.
looking like it's starting to produce maybe some straight line winds. So So
yeah, and you bring up a good point, Jordan. The leading edge of that's coming up on Barberville, and I mentioned Barberville. You're not in the tornado warning polygon, but this leading edge right here that is coming up on Barberville, right along US 25E, eventually over toward Asher's Fork, southern part of Clay County, and even Williamsburg. You've just seen some moderate rain as this blows through. You're not under any warning in Whitley County at all. As that moves through your area, 50, 55 mile per hour winds, possibly even stronger than that. We got a little healthy cell with some heavier rain over Pineville. You're going to hear some thunder, see some flashing lightning, and of course, probably hear the windows rattling a bit as well as all this blows in. And the other aspect of it, just torrential rain, especially in northern Knox County into Clay County, running along the Hal Rogers Parkway from London over to Manchester, eventually Hyden, and over toward Hazard. That's going to be an issue too, Jordan, as well, besides the potential for that spin up, which I'm much less concerned with now than we were, say, 10, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is definitely going to more of a straight line wind look. So you can see some wind damage out ahead of that, and also the flood threat. Getting a little concerned about the flood threat here.
And we've got the flood advisories that they did put out for Laurel County and Knox County, and that's until 6:45. So that aspect of it is a little more concerning, as you say. But again, as far as the rotation goes, it's going away. And unless it cycles back, they may cancel this early. They may let it ride. But from my chair and our chair, considering how high up in the storm the beam is shooting and there's not any more rotation than that, then we're going to probably just go back to regular programming, let the crawl handle it, as opposed to continuing to follow this when we don't have that signature anymore. But do want to show you the heavy amounts of rain that we got from Manchester down to Barberville. This is going to be spreading eastward. So Asher's Fork, Mosel, south of Hyden there in Leslie County, Harlan over to Pineville, Middlesboro, all this is moving your way if you happen to be watching in that part of southeastern Kentucky. So definitely expect some potential straight line winds, even though we don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings out, some very torrential rain that will cause some localized flooding issues and some thunder and lightning with it as well. But really the heavy rain threat and the wind threat and the gradient wind threat, that's going to be a concern with the high wind warning that we've got going on as we head into later on today, later in the morning and into the afternoon hours. So we still have the tornado warning that goes for northern Knox County and into the southern part of Clay County for about another 20 minutes until 4:15. But again, looking at the velocity data, the signature is just not there anymore. So we'll, again, continue to keep a close eye on it. If it cycles back up and looks like it may be more of a problem, we'll cut back in and continue to track it for you. But right now, still remain in your safe place across northern Knox and into southern Clay County as that tornado warning continues, even though the signature's gone. But definitely areas east of that into Leslie and Harlan and Bell counties, you're going to see some heavier rain and the potential of some gusty winds as we head through the next hour or so. So for meteorologist Jordan Smith, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck, and we'll continue. Keep tracking these cells and keep you posted, and we'll cut back in as needed.
More every bit.
I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck in the ABC 36 Storm Team Weather Center, continuing to track the severe weather that's still impacting southern Kentucky. We told you a few minutes ago, if you were up and watching, with the tornado warning that was continued even though the signature had gone away. Well, in this particular setup, we've got a little line now of thunderstorms moving through Leslie down into far southeastern Clay, and eventually moving over into Bell and parts of Perry and over into Leslie County. And what you get along that line is a little notch that will allow some circulation, and that has worked its way back into the mix so to speak here. So we've got a new tornado warning that goes until 4:45 now. That is for basically south central Leslie County into southern Perry County. Hazard is not in it, but Viper, Daisy in it, and then eventually over into Knott County as well, farther east. So this is going to continue to press eastward. Let's show you the velocity data because, again, you see the reflectivity here. The leading edge of this, even though there's no severe thunderstorm warning out, could produce some wind damage. But just to the southwest of Hyden here, where you see the red and the green side by side, if you can push into that, Jordan, just a little bit more. So here's Hyden in Leslie County. You're not in it in Hyden, but areas along US 421 here, south of Hyden, really between Hyden and Stinnett. There it updated. It's right along US 421, rapidly moving eastward here. So it's this part of the line where we're seeing that signature of rotation. Again, the radar site is off to the north at Jackson, and any of the colors in green, they're moving toward the radar. Anything in red is moving away from the radar. And when you get those side by side, that's your signature. And we may even have a little bit of rotation. Yeah, you can have several little notches along it. So anywhere in this area within the tornado warning polygon, right along US 421 from Stinnett down to Asher in the south central part of Leslie County, and then eventually over toward Smilax, Cut Shin, and Big Fork, over toward Leatherwood in the southern part of Perry County. These are all the communities that this line of storms is moving toward very, very rapidly. It's moving anywhere between 60 and 70 miles per hour. That in and of itself may be enough to do some straight line wind damage. So while we've got the potential of that tornado, especially with the rotation just south of Hyden, again, Hyden in Leslie County, not in it, but areas just south of the city of Hyden. That's where we're seeing that potential rotation, and that is what has prompted the tornado warning, which goes until 4:45 for south central Leslie County into southern Perry, and then eventually over into Knott County. And again, they've extended this out far enough because it's just simply moving so fast. So essentially between Hyden and Mosel, there's your circulation. It's not overly tight. It's right on that leading edge, but it doesn't take very much to get a quick spin up of a tornado. Generally, these are fairly weak, EF0 to EF1, and they usually do damage in a very isolated area if they do happen to reach the ground. Now, I talked about it with the earlier cut-ins. The radar's on the ground, the beam is aloft, but it is a little bit closer to the radar site here. So we're not shooting as high in the storm as we were with some of the earlier tornado warnings, as it's a bit closer to the radar. So as a result, we get a little better indication of A, where the rotation is, and if it could potentially be on the ground. Beyond the potential for the tornado there in south central Leslie over into Perry and western Knott County, we got a lot of heavy rain, a lot of thunder and lightning, and the leading edge of this, no severe thunderstorm warning out for it, but this could produce winds in excess of 60 miles per hour as it presses through the eastern, southeastern part of Leslie County, southern Perry County. Hazard, you're going to see and are seeing, especially on the northwest side of Hazard and say out toward Airport Gardens there as well. You're seeing the rain beginning to pick up as well as the wind. Got a lot of thunder and lightning with this cluster that's moving across southeastern Kentucky. So as we mentioned, Cutchin there in southeastern or south central parts of Leslie County, Viper over in southern Perry County, Blackie at 4:30, and if this thing holds together over toward Whitesburg in Letcher County, that'll come at about 4:39. It's 4:16, and the warning goes until 4:45. Well, doing the math, if it's to Whitesburg, which is just out of the, just out of the tornado warning, at least Whitesburg is, it would outrun it. I said Knott County before, I meant Letcher County, and that's what we're looking at as far as the potential. But where Jordan's got that highlighted, just to the east of 421, between Hyden and Mosel, there in the central part, the east central part of Leslie County, right there, that's where the possible circulation is. So some of those smaller communities, we talked about Smilax, we talked about Cutchin, and then over toward Leatherwood there in the southern part of Perry County, that's where we've got the rotation. Daisy as well, Big Fork. It's in this area right here, just east. Just looking at the reflectivity, it'd be very difficult to pick it out, but with the velocity data, it's showing us that this is where that possible rotation is, and this has been going on for quite a while. I mean, Jackson has held on to this tornado warning for quite a lengthy period of time. Now, we dropped off a little while ago because just looking at the radar data, the velocity data, there wasn't any indication at all that we had enough rotation to where we could possibly have the tornado, but it did seem to tighten back up once again. So you see this stuff rapidly moving into eastern Leslie County now, and it's eventually going to run over into Letcher County. I was saying Knott County, but again, bear with me here, a long day and into the early hours of this Saturday morning. So Blackie over in Letcher County, Whitesburg not in it, but that's the point I was trying to make a second ago. This is moving so quickly, the warning expires at 4:45, yet our track has it to Whitesburg, at least that part of the cell, by about 4:40. So that's been the history of this thing. It has outrun the polygon, the warning polygon, just due to the fact that it is moving so quickly to the east, anywhere 60 to 70 miles per hour. You see, the other issue going on across eastern Kentucky is some moderate to heavy rain. Some localized flooding issues, definitely likely. We've got flood advisory, I know, into parts of Laurel and into Whitley County and Knox County as well, because this moved through Corbin and Williamsburg a little while ago, but you see what's trailing, some additional moderate to heavy rain. So it is a rough drive from London down through Corbin to Williamsburg along I-75 if anybody's out on the interstate early on this Saturday morning. But it's south of the Hal Rogers Parkway here. So we're south of Hyden and into now the southeastern part of Leslie County, and this thing's about to move into southern Perry County. Now, the part of this cell that is possibly tornadic is not impacting Hazard. So if you're tuning in from Hazard, yeah, you got a lot of heavy rain, you got some thunder and lightning, you've got the wind whipping around, but the possible tornado is to your south, and you are not within that polygon, nor are you in Whitesburg. But as we zoom back in here, it's this little area right here, right over the Cutchin area, which we talked about, that small community a few minutes ago, and where you see the difference in colors here with the red and the green, this little area just to the north of Cutchin, off to the southeast of Hyden, northeast of Mosel, and south of Hazard. Here's the Leslie and Perry County line. Daisy, Cutchin, it's going to be moving eastward here very fast. It's moving off to really kind of the east-southeast at about probably 60 to 70 miles per hour. So this thing is going to track into southern Perry County within the next 5 minutes. So if you're anywhere south of Hazard into Perry County or over into Letcher County, you need to be in your safe place. This tornado warning goes until 4:45. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably closet, bathroom, under a stairwell. Here are the safest places to go. As mentioned, basement, you want to be away from any of the exterior windows or walls. Again, a hall, a closet, a bathroom. Many times, even, again, these potential tornadoes that we have in southeastern Kentucky, if they do touch down, they're going to be very weak, meaning EF0, EF1. But if you've seen just with some of the other tornado damage that we've seen across the country, even with stronger tornadoes, many times you will see with a structure, not a mobile home, mind you, but with a home, you will see the center part of that house usually intact, even if it's a stronger tornado. The point being is, 99 times out of 100, you're going to be fine if you're in the center part of your home. Obviously, a basement is best, but I mentioned mobile homes, not the place to be. We're entering our severe weather season, and you want to have a plan in place. And if you live in a mobile home, anytime we're under the threat of severe weather, especially during the overnight hours, you need to have a sturdier structure that you go to well ahead of time or can go to very, very quickly to potentially keep yourself out of harm's way. So Hazard, the worst of it is blown through it, and you weren't in the tornado warning to begin with, but that continues here into extreme southeastern parts of Leslie County, and really the leading edge, I think, where the circulation is probably skipping across the county line out of Leslie County into southern Perry County, and it's coming up toward Daisy, and then eventually it will move over toward Blackie there in the western part of Letcher County. Whitesburg, you're not in it, but if it does hold together, this is all moving very, very quickly off to the east at about probably 60, 70 miles per hour. That in and of itself could produce some straight line wind damage. And the ironic thing is we've got the tornado warning, but that's the only game in town. We don't have any severe thunderstorm warnings anywhere across southeastern Kentucky. It's just this part of the cell. The Weather Service in Jackson has seen enough rotation with the velocity data that it has kept this tornado warning going for quite a while. And just looking at the chat out of Jackson, they have continued the tornado warning here and have not updated it in any capacity. So that continues for parts of southeastern Leslie County and southern Perry County, and over into western parts of Letcher County. So I'm going to switch it up here and put the velocity data back on, and we'll see if we've got, see how our rotation's looking. And it's this area right there, just in between, kind of that area in between Cut-Shin and, yeah, you see it updated right there, Jordan, in between Cut-Shin and Daisy. So essentially what we're looking at, Jordan's going to head out to the wall here. We're looking at that rotation that's just heading right out of Leslie County and into southern Perry County.
Yeah, so really just southwest of the city of Viper here into Leslie County, and then again just north there, Cut-Shin, right exactly where TG is circling. That is the area that we are focusing on right now at the moment for that area of rotation. Again, it's some weak rotation. Nothing is confirmed by any means, but the National Weather Service is continuing this tornado warning that will run here supposedly for another 30 minutes. It goes until 4:45. But again, right here, TG is going to put a track on it, so we'll track you out and name some cities here, city by city. Again, Viper, here it's on you right now, 4:25. Here within the next 3 minutes in Defiance, here at 4:28, 4:34 into Blackie, 4:36 there in Skyline, 4:42 in Crown. So if you live in any of these smaller communities here in this part of Eastern Kentucky, and I just named your city, then you need to make sure that you are in your storm shelter, your storm place at the moment. Again, rotation is still there, right on top, farther there into portions of Leslie County. Is that Leslie County?
Yeah,
Leslie County.
Actually, that's just over the county line into extreme southern, well, not extreme, but the southern part of Perry County. So that thing's just kind of bleeding over. Viper, obviously, is in Perry County, so it's just crossed. The circulation there's just crossed the county line out of Leslie County into Perry County. So really the focus now, Jordan, I think is going to be the southern part of Perry County and then over toward Blackie, which is in Letcher County just west of Whitesburg.
Yes, so again, right here, right there where the greens and the red are meeting each other, that is where we are seeing the most defined circulation, again, at this moment. Want to stress nothing has been confirmed. This is all radar indicated. The National Weather Service there in Jackson is seeing enough to continue this warning, and I mean, for good reason. You can see right here where TG circled it, also some uptick in lightning is also there. So just letting you know that this is still a strong storm that is, continuing to pulse up here. It's going to continue moving almost due east here and getting in between Viper and Daisy. So right on top of you guys there. Now, again, it's the middle of the night. It's 4:15 in the morning. Most of you are asleep, but if you were, waking up by your tornado sirens going off, by your alert on your phone, you tuned us in here on TV, just know that you do have a tornado warning there for Letcher and Perry counties. This will run still another 30 more minutes. So, we want to take every chance that we can of a tornado seriously. So if you are in bed, as most people are and should be at this hour, you might want a good idea to wake the kids up, get them to the most interior part of the house. If you have a basement, that is the best place to be. But again, if you don't, then you just want to be in the most interior part of your house. Put as many walls in between you and the outside as you possibly can. And then another threat that we keep mentioning, besides this tornado warning, a lot of areas still dealing with some very torrential rains. I think the flood threat is really going to uptick a little bit here in parts of southeast Kentucky. Still raining very heavily back in Laurel County. You all are done with the severe weather there in Laurel County, but still dealing with that heavy rain right on down 75. Man, oh man, if you're driving up and down 75 right now, there in Laurel down to Whitley counties, it is a rough go. You can see that heavy rain, some lightning, those yellow shaded, orange, red shaded areas. That is some very moderate to heavy rain here just south of Paintsville, getting down towards Prestonburg, down to Wayland, down in Hydeman. Again, we know this area of the state is prone to flash flooding because the water all runs down the mountains and into the valleys. It has nowhere else to go. And that is something that we're going to continue to watch, as well as this, again, tornado warning. So we're going to, as it continues to move off, it's moving off very fastly. We're going to continue to.
And that's really, Jordan, for the whole line, in addition to, that concentrated area with some straight line wind possibilities.
Yeah, so even outside of this tornado warning, we're still seeing winds of over 60 miles an hour. So we'll track this out here for a few more communities. Getting into Daisy here at this moment. It's on your doorstep. Getting into Colson there at 434. 438 there for Van, 442 for Whitesburg, so the city of Whitesburg here roughly over the next 10 to 13 minutes, and then 445 there in 15 minutes for McRoberts. So again, we're going to continue to see this storm. The rotation is still there enough where the National Weather Service is keeping that tornado warning going. You see it goes all the way, again, just there west of Whitesburg. So we're going to see if, right here, right where this lightning is starting to pick up, that is where we are still seeing that area of rotation. So the National Weather Service is going to continue, again, letting this tornado warning ride, and for good reason, because right there where the reds and greens meet each other, that means the winds are going in different directions, and that is where we are seeing that rotation and potential of a tornado. Again, nothing has been confirmed. Want to stress, we have no confirmation of tornado. This is all radar indicated, but still, anytime there's a tornado warning, we want to take the threat very seriously, because one could pulse up at any moment, especially within a line right here when you're getting these winds going there in different directions. Also, you can see the lightning that is beginning to pull up. So as long as we have this lightning as well, that also lets us know that we're dealing with some very intense thunderstorms.
And yeah, Jordan, I really think this is about going to be the end of it here fairly soon, because here's Vico. It's, as Jordan mentioned, this area right here, just in the southern part of Perry County, about to move into Letcher County, Blackie. So it's heading your direction. Even if we don't have a tornado that does reach the ground, I think straight line wind damage, potentially 55, 60 mile per hour gusts, that is entirely on the table, because it's crystal clear, not only from looking at the reflectivity data, but also with the velocity data. If we're going to see any wind damage at all We were just showing you the reflectivity and the amount of heavy rain. This is definitely the strongest part of anything that we have in eastern Kentucky right now. So it is rapidly moving eastward. It is going to be out of southern Perry County here, I think, within the next probably 5 minutes. I'd say by the next scan, this thing will probably be on the Perry and Letcher County line, but running right down along State Route 7 there toward Blackie. It's moving east, but kind of east-southeast. That's been the trend here. Again, the little spike of the rotation, it will vary along the leading edge of that line as it moves off to the southeast. But that's been the area of concentration and the area of concern really over the last hour. I mean, this thing initially was warned back across parts of Laurel, southern Laurel, and much of McCreary, Whitley, and part of Knox County. And then as they carried it a little farther east, the signature really kind of went away, at least for a few cycles. And then evidently it has continued to at least show those signs of some possible rotation enough to prompt the tornado warning. So this thing's going to ride out, I think, for about another 15 minutes, 4:45. Yep. Actually, a little less than that, about another 13 minutes. And again, I think we're about out of it in Perry County. Now, you've got, again, a lot of heavy rain. You see all the lightning strikes that we've got here. Vico back toward Viper. You're in the clear as far as any possible issues with tornadoes, but man, look at the heavy rain that is left in its wake. We've mentioned Cutchin, that small community there in southeastern Leslie County. You've got some torrential rain falling. Same drill in Daisy and southern Perry County up to Viper. But right over Blackie here, it's this leading edge. This is where the circulation is. The velocity data, I think, just lagging behind a little bit. So Blackie, it's on top of you. Now, Whitesburg, you're not in the tornado warning polygon, and this goes for about another 12 minutes, but this is going to be on top of Whitesburg here probably within 10 minutes before the tornado warning expires. And they may very well extend it on to Whitesburg. We'll see here shortly. But anyway, slice it up. As this rolls through the western, southwestern part of Leslie County here, it is going to have the potential of producing winds in excess of 55 to 60 miles per hour. Looking at the bigger picture as we go a little deeper into this morning, I mean, we're just about 3 hours away from sunrise, and you see that they have extended it on into parts of Leslie County, part of Knott County, and then over into Pike County. And that's getting to the really kind of to the eastern fringe of our viewing area. And once we get kind of beyond Whitesburg here and we get out into Pike County, that gets a little bit to the outer edge of our viewing area. So let me check the specifics on this, and we'll kind of give you the rundown here. With that, they're still hanging on it. The severe thunderstorm capable of producing tornado near Cody, about 9 miles off to the south of Hindman. So it looks like, again, it was kind of moving southeastward here, but it is now kind of shifting more eastward. So they're saying Cody, let's see, where is Cody on the map? Yeah, it's got to be that area right there around Red Fox. Let's see, 9 miles south of Hindman. We'll get our little ruler out of here. 9 miles south, boom, there you go. So right there in the Red Fox community, this is where the possible tornado is located, right here in this area. So it's kind of shifted, the rotation has, because, you know, we get rid of that, and as we kind of broaden things out here, you can see that we were tracking things down here toward Blackie, but now, and actually I can take this back, you see how the rotation went from there in between Viper and Daisy, and now it's shifted more to the north. It just kind of went around Blackie. It was heading toward Blackie and Whitesburg, and now it is up in this area that stretches into the northern part of Letcher County, southern part of Knott County, and then over into Pike County. And again, that's getting toward the far reaches of our viewing area. That goes until straight up 5 a.m. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the reflectivity back on here, kind of wrap things up as far as what to expect for the remainder of the morning. You see here we're getting on the outer fringes again of the viewing area here, so we'll kind of put a bow on this thing. Got a lot of heavy rain, ponding of water on the roadway. That is going to be likely Clay County, Knott County, or Knox County, that is, Whitley County, and along the Kentucky-Virginia border. So we've still got the tornado warning, what's left of it. But again, the circulation here is just south of Hindman, about 10 miles. So this potential cell is going to pass between Hindman and Whitesburg there along the Knott and Letcher County line, and then eventually it'll run over toward the US 119 corridor in southeastern Pike County, out eventually toward Elkhorn City, again on the outer fringes of our viewing area here. So if you're anywhere in southern Knott County, and I know they can see us in Whitesburg, northern Letcher County, you've got that tornado warning until 5 a.m., but it will be through your area here within about the next probably 15 to 20 minutes. It is kind of outrunning the tornado warning polygon. So in between Hindman and Whitesburg, right along the Knott and Letcher County line, that's where the possible tornado is. Haven't had any reports, even though we've had this ongoing for about the last hour and 15 minutes as it's moved across southeastern Kentucky. We have had no reports of any confirmations of this reaching the ground, but it's shown enough of a signature where we've had the ongoing tornado warning. So what we'll do is we'll send you back to programming here. Got a lot of heavy rain in southeastern Kentucky. One thing to remember, after this exits southeastern Kentucky, high wind warning for eastern Kentucky until 6 p.m. this evening, and a wind advisory here in the Bluegrass and into southern Kentucky until 5 o'clock this afternoon due to the gradient winds that we're going to see as that area of low pressure strengthens off to our north. So even after we're rid of the rain and the strong wind potential on the leading edge of this Whitesburg, now east of Hindman, we got the gradient winds that we're going to be dealing with a little bit later on this morning. So if you're out here in southeastern Kentucky, if you can see us in Whitesburg up toward Hindman, in that area right along the Knott Letcher County line, you want to be in a safe place for about the next 20 minutes as this thing races eventually out into Pike County and eventually over into southwestern Virginia and finally out of the Commonwealth here. So we're going to send you back to regular programming. Again, be safe in southeastern Kentucky. Watch at the top of your screen as the crawl system will continue to handle any additional warnings or advisories. We've got the wind advisory as mentioned and the high wind warning out into eastern Kentucky as we progress through the rest of this Saturday. So for meteorologist Jordan Smith, I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck in the ABC 36 Storm Team Weather Center. We'll send you back to regular programming.
This is the most